This broadcast is a Stephen K. Media production.
The success of the small business person is the cornerstone of the American economy. Welcome to the Small Business Today Show with your hosts, Cruz and Hughes. The Small Business Today Show is for and about small business advancement and development. What we do for you. We'll be taking your calls as we provide you small business intelligence and mentorship needed to grow your business creatively. Keep listening. The Small Business Today Show with Cruz and Hughes starts now.
Hello and welcome back to today's episode of Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes right here on Blog Talk Radio. And this is the place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. Irv Hughes and John Cruz, we broadcast every day, Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you want to join the conversation, Irv,
join the conversation.
Do you mind them calling?
No, man, they need to go ahead and just give us a call. You know what? You can give us a call at 347-857-3958. Call in, give us a piece of your mind, but not too big a piece. Leave some for yourself. And tell us whatever it is that's on your mind. If you got questions, you can join us in the chat room. Don't forget, for those of you who are Android users, I know some of you are out there. If you're Android users, guess what? You can go in the Google Play Store. You can search on Small Business Today Radio. Pull up our Android app, and guess what? You can take us with you every single day, everywhere you go.
And we would really love that.
We would really love that.
So how was your day today, sir?
I had a great day today, man. You know what? The weather finally is getting nice and crispy, you know.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel really energized about this whole thing. And then, you know, I spent half the night out at our very cool launch party.
Well, we did have a good night last night, which means that I had a slow start this morning.
Yep.
But by noon I got it in gear and made it to the office and I'm here.
Well, it's good to be us.
Hey, I wouldn't want to be anybody else.
I'm telling you, man, it's great to be us. So, hey, John, so what are we going to share? What are we going to teach today?
You know, I was thinking that we should probably last week we made a promise to sort of talk about funding.
Yes. Big deal.
First of all, we could talk for about a week straight on the topic of funding. And I thought that today we could just sort of do an overview of some of the available options that are out there for small business people. And if somebody wants to call in and ask some specific questions, well, we got Irv Hughes here, and Irv is definitely the old banker, as it were. And
yes, I'm an old banker.
And if you have any questions, I'm sure Irv can answer them all. But I'm going to fire away some things at you, and we just sort of go down the list. Now, you know, one of the things that I did is I sort of made a list of and you can add to this.
Sure. Okay.
But I made a list of what's important when you're getting a loan.
Right.
And I want to talk a little bit about criteria.
Okay. Very good.
So as far as criteria is concerned, the first thing that we want to talk about is documentation.
Oh, boy.
Because to me, most loans are approved or denied at the documentation stage.
No doubt.
And if your documentation isn't right, then you're done.
No, stick a fork in it. You're absolutely done. And here's the thing, folks. When you're going for a loan, documentation is so critical because you know what, John? Documentation is your proof. You've got to prove your business case. That's what your documentation does. And guess what? If you don't have the necessary supporting documents to support the application, or if your supporting documents simply proved that you cannot pay this money back, which I'm sure we'll get into during the course of this conversation today, then you got trouble. So where do you spend your time, I think, is a good segue right here, John, is when you're talking about documentation, folks, where are you going to spend your time? When you've decided you are going to go for a loan, you've decided you're going to get some outside help to fund your business, where do you spend your time? You spend your time on your supporting documents. Why? Because ultimately they are going to determine not only how much of a loan you can qualify for, but more importantly, whether or not you get approved at all.
Yeah. And
ultimately, it's going to determine that.
I would definitely agree. Now, we really don't want to get into listing all the documents that you could possibly or potentially need to
you need to write to us for that.
Yeah, to get all these types of loans. But just understand some of the generic documents.
Sure.
You got to be able to explain what your business does, what makes you so special or unique. You got to have some financials that either talk about how your business has performed over the past 2 years with a current year to date. And if you're not currently in business, you got to have a pro forma forma, which means that you got to have a pretty good idea of how your business is going to perform. And I know for most small business people, it's very tough for them to just pull numbers out of the air. But if you were listening to us last week, Irv shared with you some very key information on how you develop and how you put together your pro forma. You don't just snatch numbers out of the air and say, okay, I'm opening a sandwich shop and I'm going to, have 3 or 4 employees and we're going to sell X amount of sandwiches and make $28,000 a month with, a 30% profit. How do you know that? Based on what? So you got to be able to substantiate that information.
Absolutely.
Now, outside of documentation.
Yes.
I think time in business is really important.
Time in business is critical because ultimately the supporting documents change. When you've been in business for a while, your supporting documents look substantially different than those of us who perhaps have a startup.
Right.
Because with a startup, folks, you're going to have basically pro forma documentation, whether that's your pro forma financial statements, or you're going to have brand new documents like your supporting documents for your structure, whether you're a corporation or LLC, or whatever your formal structure is, even a DBA, that's going to be brand new. And when you have this documentation, John, that's brand new, in the finance world, brand new means not proven. And so when you're looking for money, especially loans, folks, you got to remember one thing about banks and bankers. They are not forward looking. They are not forward looking. We in the business world, we go off these projections and we like to look forward because generally the neighborhood we're headed to is better than the neighborhood we're in when we start.
We're all optimists.
We're all optimists. And the challenge is the banker knows, you've got pro forma projections that, maybe go out 3 to 5 years. And he's wondering, how are you going to make your first payment that's going to be due in 30 days?
Now let's talk about that.
Okay.
You know that there's a small sector of entrepreneurs who are under the impression that when they go and get a loan,
right,
that they can sort of stave off those payments. I know I used to have entrepreneurs ask me that all the time. Look, if I get the loan, when is my first payment due? Well, 30 days after you get the loan.
Yeah.
And then, okay, well, you guys don't give me about 3 to 6 months. I'm like, no. What you're looking for is an investor.
That's right.
Someone who's not going to require any monthly payback if the company is not performing.
Right.
But when you go out to get a loan of any sort, repayment starts immediately. As a matter of fact, I really can't think of any type of loan. Can you that where you could get a loan and possibly stave off or get a moratorium on payments?
No, not in the United States anyway.
Okay, well then.
Now there are places around the country that practice that, and it's been interesting because all the places around the world that practice that sort of funding structure, where there's a moratorium of some period on a term loan, they have real trouble because now their secondary markets literally are non-existent.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no performance whatsoever.
Nothing
until that thing.
Nothing. And I've had many conversations with people from around the world who literally have come along and said, I don't understand you guys in the U.S. I mean, you guys literally expect to put a loan of $100,000 out. You put a 7-year term on that. And then I'm expecting that 84 months down the road, I can bring you back $100,000 plus your interest.
That's exactly what we expect.
And what's interesting is that's not the way it works in the U.S. You don't wait 84 months and then pay in month 84 the whole amount. That's what I'm saying.
You're paying gradually.
That's right. It's pay as you go.
That's right.
Right?
That's
and
right.
So, in America, we call that amortization.
That's right.
So around the world, they don't necessarily do loans that way, but it's interesting that they'll come to the United States to learn how we do it because it creates such a terrible cash flow and financial and banking environment in those countries where they do that.
Well, right now, Irv and I are talking about loans. We're talking about you getting money for your small business, some of the things that affect those loans, some of that criteria that comes into play. And just to recap, we're talking about your documentation.
Right.
Time in business is something else that you need to pay attention to. Now, the next thing, Irv, is going to be whether or not you want if you can secure the loan. Is this going to be a secured or unsecured loan?
Oh boy, here we go. So, all right. So, folks, when you're talking about getting a business loan, expect to have to secure it with something. Expect to. Does that mean you're going to have to? No, but you should expect to. And especially, we started off talking about time in business. Well, guess what? If you're a startup, you're going to have to probably put some assets in the company such that those assets can be used for collateral. And whatever those assets are, we won't get into a whole lot of that. But the main question is whether or not the loan is going to be secured or unsecured. And guess what? Most loans are secured. Even for the big giant guys, they're still secured with something.
Now, some people may not understand, Irv, what is security for a loan because immediately the first thing that jumps even into my mind, okay, if I'm going to secure this, I'm going to secure it with a piece of real estate.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's say that I only have 10% equity in the real estate that I own.
Right.
So am I really can I use that 10% to secure? Okay.
No.
So what else is what else is an option for me?
No. Well, see, now you're getting into where we have to kind of decide what that's going to be. For those of you who are in business and have been in business, now accounts receivable can be a great piece of collateral for a loan. That will back up a loan.
Absolutely. And that's generally the first thing that a banker wants to see.
Generally, the first thing I'd want to see was, hey, do you have any accounts receivable? Because that's an asset that you can create on the fly.
And if I'm a startup,
that's especially your friend.
Okay.
Because you can create income and assets if you structured it correctly.
And for most startups, naturally, you probably will not have any accounts receivable. So securing your loan could be, it could be somewhat of a stretch for you.
Yeah, got to put some personal assets in there.
When we come back, we're going to finish talking about the criteria that affects all loans. And then Irv and I are going to get into some of the different types of loans that are available to small business people. And don't worry, I know that everybody cannot qualify for a loan. So we're also going to have a future show where we talk about what to do when the bank says no. But for the most part today, we're talking about being able to go into some financial institution. What are your options? What's the criteria that affects those options? And how can you prepare yourself? You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes, which is brought to you by Small Business Today magazine. It's the magazine that is for and about Houston's entrepreneurs. To get your free copy, go to smallbusinesstodaymagazine.com, input your information, and we'll send one to your email inbox each and every month. Stay with us. We'll return in a moment.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cooney is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancooney.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? My answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruiseandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. And Irv and I are talking about business finance today. We're covering things with a broad stroke here. I mean, we're painting with a mop today.
Painting with a mop, John.
Painting with a mop.
Painting with a mop.
With a mop. I mean, there will be no fine lines today. We're just getting color on the wall, We're talking about loans. As a small business person, it's incumbent upon you to have to access capital to run your business. You got to be able to touch money to do things. And so in doing so, these are some of the options that exist to a small business person. And we're talking about loan criteria. What are the things that affect your loan? We talked about documentation, your time in business, whether or not the loan is going to be secured and unsecured, and what type of security are you going to use? Are you going to use your accounts receivable?
Right.
Are you going to use a piece of real estate?
Right.
Depending on the type of loan that you're getting, you may be asked for security, and if you don't have it, it could mean no loan for you.
That's right.
The next thing is interest rate.
Interest rates. I love interest rates. Being an old banker, I'm always partial to interest rates, but I'm just like everybody else. I don't think you should overpay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let me ask you this. From the standpoint of receiving a rate, let's say that I go into a bank, I receive a loan, and your bank gave me that loan, and you tell me, Mr. Cruz, you're approved. We're going to give you $60,000 to put into your donut shop.
Sure.
And these are the terms.
Right.
The interest rate is going to be 8.9%.
Right.
Can I negotiate that?
Absolutely.
So I could say, no, I don't want to pay that rate.
Yeah, you can. And here's the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, John, because as it pertains to business loans, folks, you got to remember, business finance is not consumer finance. That's the first thing I want to put out there. There is a difference. Financing your house and your car, very different. Financing a business, not the same things. The same rules simply do not apply. If I was applying for a business and a business loan, and a bank gave me an offer of an interest rate that I was, for whatever reason, uncomfortable with, maybe I was unwilling to pay that rate, maybe I had a different number in mind, it's perfectly okay to talk to that bank about the number that you had in mind or a number that you're comfortable with. John asked a question about negotiation. Can you negotiate it? And the answer is absolutely yes. And in fact, you should.
That's what I wanted to hear from you.
You should just and look, all my banker friends are going to send me all kinds of
I know they're
hate
angry
mail.
right now. Yeah.
They're going to send me hate mail. But the truth is, you should just push back on whatever they offer you.
So even if they come at you with a 5% interest rate,
I'd push back on it.
Too high.
I'd say, well, what else can you do?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't expecting to pay that.
Well, then that leads me to my next point, is the term or the payback.
Right.
Let's say that they offer me what I consider to be a relatively short term. Can I ask for more time going into that loan?
Right. That's exactly right. And we have a term in finance, John, where we say, especially in the context of loans, okay, making the loan fit, right? The loan's got to fit. It's got to fit within the income scheme. It's got to fit within the risk scheme. It's got to fit with the amount of money, the proceeds themselves. How much are we actually going to transfer and put in this guy's account when he leaves the bank with an approval?
Well, let me qualify that. So you're saying that because I know that the longer term you give me,
that's right,
the easier it is for me to income qualify.
That's correct.
However, because of the type of industry that I'm in,
right,
the level of risk could jump up significantly.
That's right.
If we step outside of, say, 18 months or 36 months.
That's exactly right. And that's what I mean by making it fit. It's got to fit on.
I got to pay attention to a lot of edges here.
You do. It's got to fit on all sides. And therein lies the trouble with a lot of small businesses trying to get access to capital today, John, because the old rules are out the window. The banks are going with a new set of rules now. And guess what? You got a few moving parts there that you've got to pay attention to. Interest is certainly one of those, but just be mindful, folks, for the benefit of our listeners out here today. Interest rates are a function of risk. If the bank's criteria is implemented on your loan application and the bank determines you to be low risk, guess what? You'll pay a lower interest rate. If the bank determines your loan application to be of high risk, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. Now, the entire industry works this way. And really, you work that way too. If somebody comes to borrow money from you, you're going to assess how much risk are you taking of not being paid back. And guess what? The cost of that money is going to change based on that.
Absolutely.
And so you need to understand that interest is a function of risk, nothing more.
So should an entrepreneur assume then that if I'm considered to be high risk, my term is going to be relatively short?
That's correct.
And if I am low risk, then I'm probably going to be able to negotiate a longer term.
Absolutely. The strength of your industry absolutely plays a part in what you're going to pay in interest. Sorry, guys, my banker comrades out there.
And if you did not catch the show on industry, Irv and I did a show where we talked about the way the bank views specific industries.
Right.
You know, you have favorable, unfavorable, and just high risk.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, we did say, if you remember that show, we didn't say just because you're considered to be in an unfavorable industry by the bank that you could not be financed.
Right.
It just meant that you were going to have to be stronger in the paperwork and
That's
in
right.
the financials that you submit to the
That's
bank.
right. Yeah, you're going to have to show how you're going to mitigate that risk. And if I'm the bank and you're in one of those industries, I'm going to want you to be very comfortable with the amount of interest that I'm going to tag onto it for taking the risk that I'm taking.
Well, since we have already taken industry off the checklist, the last thing that I have as far as loan criteria is credit.
Yeah. Well, now credit, boy, that's a whole show. Okay. Yeah, credit is one of those things, folks, that, we talked about at the top of the show, that you want to make sure that you put together all of your supporting documents. However, one of those pieces needs to be your credit report. And I'm glad you saved that for last, by the way, because the credit report is one of those things that you absolutely need to pull. I'm stunned, quite frankly, John, at the number of people who literally say, hey, I'm going to go start up my own business. I'm going to hang out my shingle. And guess what? I need some money and I'm going to go and apply for a loan, but I hadn't taken a look at my personal credit.
Yeah.
And I'm
going every day.
And I'm going, okay, let me get this straight. You're getting ready to go and ask somebody for some money, knowing they're going to pull your credit. In other words, you're getting ready to take off your financial clothes and perhaps in front of a complete stranger. And you have no idea what you look like.
I don't like to be financially naked.
I don't want to be financially naked. And if I decide I'm going to take the risk of being financially naked, you better believe I know what I look like.
Certainly.
Naked.
Certainly.
And that's what your credit score is all about. So you absolutely need to pull your credit report. You pull all of the reports from all of the agencies and you analyze those. You understand those scores, get somebody to help you, call us, email us, do something so that you can get the help you need to analyze what your scores are and why they are wherever they are. Whether your score is a 500 or whether it's 800, you still need to understand why it's that way.
Now, I'm going to get straight to the meat. I'm going straight to the jugular on this.
Go ahead, man.
If my credit score is below a specific number.
Yes.
And that number being a number that's too low for me to possibly obtain bank financing.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is that number?
740.
So if I am less than a 740,
right?
Should I just kill myself?
No. If you're less than 740, you got work to do.
Okay, but does it mean that I can't be financed?
No, it doesn't mean you can't be financed. It means you can't be financed by a bank.
Okay.
It just means that, folks, if you're under a 740 credit score in today's market, your chances of getting bank financing go down to about 10%.
Wow.
Just to put that in perspective. If your personal credit score is over 740, guess what? You just increased your chances of getting approved by 60. Now notice the difference there. What is the difference? The difference, folks, is in your supporting documents. Because it still doesn't, your credit score still does not, hear me, Hear me, because I hear this.
Well, you
all
could be
the
an
time.
800 credit score.
You
right?
can be an 800 credit score, and you could be declined for a business loan, folks. Okay, so just understand that your credit score only makes up about 50% of that decision to finance you.
Now, where would you suggest that I go? Let's say that my credit score is around 660, 680.
Sure.
What options exist for me?
Yeah. Well, as far as getting financing.
Getting financing.
Yeah.
I need to get some working capital.
Yeah, I would immediately go and take a look at CDFIs. CDFIs, folks, these are called Community Development Financial Institutions. They are not banks. They are nonprofit organizations that get grant money from banks, a lot of them, some from the federal government, and they lend money. These are community lenders. Community development is a big deal in the banking and finance industry, but the outlets for this money comes through CDFIs. And so if it were me or you and we're starting a small business, I would take a look at a CDFI if my credit scores are just not bankable right now.
Where do I find these CDFIs?
Actually, believe it or not, you can actually just go to cdfifund.gov.
cdfifund.gov.
cdfifund.gov and look for your state.
And one of the things that you will notice is that going through a CDFI, their terms are much more relaxed. Their credit window is a little bigger than trying to obtain bank financing.
Absolutely. And so when we come back, we'll go further down your list here, John.
I got lots of things that I'm going to shoot your way.
Okay, man. You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by DirecTV with over 285 channels and NFL Sunday ticket. Packages start at just $29.99 a month. Sign up today by calling 888-344-9296. Don't go away. The education continues right after this.
Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cooney is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancooney.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? My answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff.
Come buy my stuff. Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Irv and I are talking about bank financing today. We just finished up the last segment talking about credit scores. And what that number, that magic number is, and you say that magic number to be bank financed is about 740.
Right now, yes.
And if you're a little lower than that, there's still an option for you. You can still receive business finance.
Sure.
You can get it from what are called CDFIs, and that acronym, again, stands
Community Development Financial Institutions.
And if you would like to find a CDFI that operates in your area, you can go to cdfi.gov.
No, CDFI Fund.
CDFIFund.gov.
Right. And folks, that's the website that governs all the funding coming from the government into the CDFIs. Now, keeping in mind that a CDFI a lot of times is a nonprofit, and so the government provides funding. That's why they're on there. They provide the infrastructure and the oversight for these community lending institutions. But that's not their only source of capital. A lot of times this money comes to CDFIs even through banks, through something called the Community Reinvestment Act. And so a lot of times banks who have, by law, have to put money back into the communities where they get their deposits, these CDFIs make for a great outlet for them, a great partner, if you will, with the banks, because they can now act as outlets for this CDFI funding. This CRA money goes into these CDFIs, and then the CDFIs can in turn loan money into the community, thereby building the community.
Well, I think that's great information because, and knowing where your credit score is may save you some pain in terms of knowing where you should potentially go to get financing. If you know that you're a 660, 630, 640. Now, what is that number? I remember we had Miss Shirley Brooks on the show.
Right, absolutely.
And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that she went all the way down to like 600 or 620.
Yeah, generally about 625 now.
Okay.
Is a good safe number for CDFI. So
okay.
625, that gap, that no man's land between 625 and say 740, I call that no man's land now.
Okay.
It used to didn't be no man's land. It used to be you were in the land of opportunity if you were at 650. Today, you know what? If you're at 625, between 625 or anywhere under 740, that gap, that space is a wide gap there, and that's pretty much no man's land. So if you're in a business and you're looking for funding or financing, folks, you absolutely want to take a look at CDFIs that may be operating in your area.
Now, for the most part, CDFIs also offer the very types of financing that you would find at one of the big bank branches as well. So just about any program that the big bank offers, a CDFI is going to be able to potentially match that, and even to the same dollar amounts, in terms of the type of loan programs that they have.
That's exactly right. And one other thing we ought to touch on about CDFIs too, John, is that there are subsets of CDFIs. That's kind of a CDFI is kind of the global umbrella structure or title for these kinds of lenders. And then there are some CDFIs that are a bit more specialized, and those are what we call CDEs, and those are community development enterprises where they get a license to actually act as an investor to your business. And so they can actually buy stock in your company.
So there's no loan scenario.
There's no loan scenario. But they're still under the auspices of the CDFI fund is the point. And so there's not as many of those around. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up, John, is because sometimes you might be able to actually qualify even for a bank loan. But guess what? There's this animal called an equity injection. All right, which means you've got to put in a down payment. For example, if you wanted a $100,000 loan, and you might have the credit, you might have the collateral, you might have the supporting documents, but guess what? Because your company is young, Now they want you to put some of your skin in the game. So they'll say to you, well, hey, John, we can approve a $100,000 loan as soon as you bring a $30,000 check in here.
Wow.
Well, now therein lies the problem. That equity injection requirement can be a deal breaker. But this, folks, is right where a CDE can come in and be very helpful, because what will happen, that CDE or a CDC, that's a Community Development Corporation, either one of these folks can now come in and be the tandem, or what we call subordination. I was trying not to get too technical right there, but they can basically take a second position behind the bank on the loan, so they put up the cash that the bank wants.
Well, that is a whole show in and of
itself. That is a whole show, because now we're actually down talking about structuring the financing itself. That's a structured finance kind of strategy there.
But and that's one of the benefits of actually finding yourself as a small business person, a finance consultant.
Sure.
And help you discuss all of your options.
Right.
Prepare your documentation.
Right.
Tell you where to go
right.
and what to say to enhance or increase the probability of your being funded.
That's exactly right. And again, with that said, we talked about before, consultants, folks, do not guarantee funding. Consultants cost a lot of money. They just do. The good ones certainly do. I'm one of them, and trust me, I cost a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
But the point is that compared to not getting it right.
Right. Because here's the thing. There are only so many places that you can go.
That's right.
And get it wrong.
That's exactly right.
So they're not 200 branches. They're not
That's
200
right.
CDFIs that are out there.
That's right.
You want to be as best prepared as you possibly can going in, because getting it wrong and then figuring it out, you may be out of chances.
That's exactly right. And with that said, folks, just remember, when you're using a financial consultant to help you put funding together for your business, just because you're paying a consultant does not guarantee you that you're going to get any funding or get funding within any specified time. It literally means that you're going to get the best advice you can get, and you're going to stack the deck in your favor. And then from that, you ought to follow the recommendations of the consultant. Because a lot of times, John, I stop my clients. I'll say, look, you're just not close enough for me to be comfortable even talking about taking a fee to do this.
Yeah.
You've got some work you need to do.
If you want to see what Irv and I do on this show, you feel free to go to our business website, which is www.cruiseandhughes.com. That's CRUISEAND, Cruise and Hughes, HUGHES.com. You can also go and click on the link and watch what we do when we do the show live.
Sure.
We have a video playing when we do the show. We have our Google account there where you can go back and watch some of the old shows, or you could go straight into our blog talk and look through the archives and find some valuable information in the shows that we do. Now, if you have a question you want to call in, feel free. You can call us at 347-857-3958, as long as that question pertains to business. Again, that number is 347-857-3958. If you're too shy to call and you have a certain scenario that you would like to discuss with myself or Irv, you can contact Irv at Irvin, ERVIN, at cruiseandhughes.com, or you can connect with me at John at cruiseandhughes.com. Now, let's talk a little bit about loan types.
Loan types.
Now, we may not be able to get through all of this, but I definitely want to I want to visit as much of this as we possibly can, even if we have to bleed this into another show.
Okay.
First of all, let's talk about short-term, long-term, and what those two things mean. Now, when I think about short-term, Irv, you correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking about loans that generally mature in a year or less.
Okay, well, yes, it could, but that's in the auspices of the business loans.
Okay.
Short term is more like 7 years and less.
Okay.
Okay, because it's kind of done in increments, John. You got 7-year loans, 5-year loans, 3-year loans, and then under 3.
Okay.
So
anything up to 7,
right?
We would agree then that's considered short term.
That's a short term loan. Yes.
All right. So if I'm thinking long term, then I guess the opposite of that would be anything over, say, 7, maybe 7 to 20 years.
15 to 20.
15 to
20, 25 years. So those increments go the other way. After 7 years, now it jumps all the way to 15 years. Sometimes you can negotiate a 10-year loan,
But it's just not that common.
But it's just not that common. You very rarely see 10-year loans in the commercial space. You see 15, 20, and then 25.
Okay.
And you almost never see 30.
Okay.
Just to give you an example.
Well, especially on business finance.
Especially on business finance.
I mean, you know how difficult it is to keep a company open 30 years?
That's a long ride for a banker, man.
And even if you did have a loan that was 30 years, it's going to be probably amortized for 30 years, but you're probably going to have a balloon at 5 or something
exactly
like
right.
that.
Yeah, they're going to want to exit.
Okay.
No doubt about it.
Now, before we go into break, let's talk a little bit about SBA, because that's generally the first place that a small business person thinks about. I'm going to get finance. I'm going to go down to the SBA office. I'm going to ask them for a loan application, and I'm going to complete that application, and hopefully they approve me, and then I'll come back on Wednesday to pick up my check.
That could not be more wrong.
Am I telling jokes?
That's not how it works at all, folks. No. The instant someone says SBA to you, all right, stop the presses. Because what John just said is the thought process for most small businesses around the United States, and that could not be farther from the truth of how it works.
So we don't go to the Small Business Administration's office to fill out a loan application?
No, because they don't loan money.
Then why is it called an SBA loan?
Because they guarantee loans, and not for you. They guarantee the loan for the bank.
So then this is more of an insurance product then.
It's an insurance product for the bank and not you. More importantly, maybe we should get into this business about the SBA here, because I don't want people to get the impression that the SBA, that they're bad people or demonize them in any way. They are necessary, and they play a very vital role in the access and capital space for small business. But we're going to talk about maybe the pros and cons of that, just so that people can have some perspective on what they do, how they do it, and perhaps why you want to go about getting an SBA loan. Folks, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by RingCentral.com. To get RingCentral's virtual PBX for your business, you can give them a call today at 888-716-5022. Don't go away, because we're going to be talking about good stuff about the SBA when we come back right after this.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee News. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for Coffee News. If they don't have it, tell them to get it. by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's Coffee News.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? And my answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruzandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. In the last segment, Irv and I were talking about the Small Business Administration, and that the reality is that the SBA is not set up and equipped to make loans to the small business public.
Right.
What they do is they insure or guarantee those loans to the banks who actually make a small business or an SBA type loan.
That's correct. And the reason why we call them SBA loans is simply because the SBA stands in the back of the loan process, is a party, an integral party to the loan, but they stand as a role as a backstop for the banks against default.
Now, here's the thing. Now, you also have some people who go through the trouble of educating themselves on SBA loan products before they go to the bank. And I applaud those individuals.
They should do that, yeah.
But then the problem happens when they go to the bank and the bank asks for a specific documentation or denies their loan, and the criteria used to deny that loan is over and above the criteria set forth by the SBA in terms of what they will guarantee based on.
That's right.
How do we let them know, Irv, that the bank, because they hold the gold, they still make all the rules, and they can take the SBA's criteria and add additional
they can.
Things or additional hoops that they want you to jump through on top of that.
Sure, and the big deal is, John, is you were asking a question about what can a small business do, and perhaps if they feel like they've been treated unfairly. The SBA does need to know that, and they do have mechanisms for you. I want to say there are 70 district offices scattered about the United States. But if you go to SBA.gov, literally search for your state. There's a search window right at the top of the page. Just put in Texas or put in Missouri or whatever your state is, and all of the information regarding that SBA office operating in your state will come up so you can contact them. And they have people inside of the SBA that are called lender relationship managers. These guys are some of the folks that you need to contact if you think you're having a problem with a lender, and sometimes that can really help you get a handle on what this lender was looking for. And so those folks are there to help you, and that's the thing. But you got to remember that the banks have something from the SBA. Many of the banks, there's two groups of banks that operate in the SBA space. One group is called preferred lenders. Now, preferred lenders have something called delegated authority, which simply means that if the bank approves you, the SBA approves you.
Yeah.
All right. And then you have something called certified lenders. Certified lenders do not have delegated authority. They do have the authority to to accept a loan package, review it, underwrite it. But before that loan is approved, before a guarantee is issued, then the SBA now reserves the right to review that loan package to see if they concur. You might guess that a certified lender has a much longer processing time than a preferred lender.
Right. Now, how do I find out whether or not the lender that I'm going through is preferred or certified?
You can actually go to SBA.gov and search for preferred lenders. You remember, just like I said, go to SBA.gov, put your state in there, pull up everything in there. Also, look for your state, and then something that you can literally put in keyword PLP. It stands for Preferred Lender Program.
Gotcha.
And in that way, you can pull up all the lenders that the SBA has on the list to that are preferred lenders. And another thing you might take a look at, I know here in Houston we have an organization, and I think just about all of those guys are preferred lenders, and that's the Houston Association of Government Guaranteed Lenders, or what we call HAGL. And you can go to HAGGL .org or .com. I want to say it's .org.
Okay.
And pull up their list, and guess what? You can literally have the names of the contact people, their email addresses, phone numbers, and everything, a whole profile on all of those members. And guess what? There are members of associations of government guaranteed lenders in just about every major city in America.
All right. Well, I think that's some great information in terms of knowing how the SBA looks at loans, what's their stand, and knowing whether or not your lender is preferred or certified. You want to know that.
Absolutely. And folks, let me tell you, your SBA district office, they want to do the loan. They really do.
Okay.
But under delegated authority, they can't do a loan because they're not doing direct loans. There's an intermediary there. Now, in recent days, because of some of the things that's happened with banks and lending to small business, the SBA has taken great strides to try to diversify distribution of their loan programs and products by now allowing some CDFIs can actually do SBA loans now.
Really?
Yeah. Some credit unions can actually do SBA loans now.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just saying that there is a push now on behalf of the SBA to try and spread out their distribution channels, if you will, to give small businesses better access to capital
now,
other than banks.
I have two other questions that I'm certain entrepreneurs want to know. Number one, does the SBA have loan products for startups?
Yes.
0 time in business.
Yes, absolutely. But again, those products are tied to the lenders. So if the lender doesn't have, is not set up to fund a startup, then guess what? The SBA can't do it.
Gotcha.
So
now,
yes, there are programs for that.
And do they have loan programs that are unsecured?
Yes, they absolutely do.
So that is the friend of the small business person that doesn't have a long tenure in business. He may want to consider an SBA loan.
Yeah, and those loans are generally microloans, guys, $50,000 and under. Some lenders can actually do loans unsecured up to about $25,000. I think there's a hard cutoff there with SBA lending for those lenders that want to do unsecured loans for startups. I think those loans are pretty much limited to $25,000 unless that lender actually has their initial credit policy that goes up past that for unsecured. Then in that case, they'd have to apply for some special treatment from the SBA to allow them to go over the $25,000 limit unsecured.
Now, I had about 8 or 10 other types of loans that I thought we were going to be able to get through today. And I mean, but it's great. I mean, the information that we're giving, I think, is very needed.
Sure.
And we don't want to rush you guys, so we will pick up where we left off later on in the upcoming days. But before we go to break, let's talk about factoring very quickly.
Okay, yeah.
Now, factoring doesn't mean anything to a person who's a startup. Because chances are you're not going to have any accounts receivable, which are necessary to even be a candidate for factoring. Am I correct?
Well, not necessarily.
Oh, man.
Not necessarily.
Educate us.
Not necessarily. There are factoring companies that absolutely specialize in setting up factoring lines of credit for startups.
Really?
And it's a tool that I use a lot for my startups because I'm trying to control debt and keep them with a line of credit that will grow with them. And factoring does exactly that.
Wow.
Yeah, so we can talk about that perhaps in our short segment when we come back. But yeah, folks, factoring is the friend of small businesses who are startups, and especially those owners who are under that magic 740 credit score, because you can actually go through the steps and have your factoring line set up before you actually take your first accounts receivable.
Guys, if you've been having trouble getting funding and you've been everywhere, you've tried everything, you do yourself a favor, send Irvin an email, irvin@cruisandhughes.com. Talk to him, let him sort of give you some ideas. He may be able to rejuvenate and jumpstart your loan package and possibly teach you something that can help you get funding.
No doubt about it. Folks, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by the Lexington Law Firm. When you need credit help, get a free consultation today by calling the Lexington Law Firm at 888-744-7081. Stay with us. We're in the home stretch. We'll be back in just a moment.
Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? And my answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work?
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the show. We always encourage you to go to our website, cruzandhughes.com. That's CRUISEAND. Cruz and Hughes, HUGHES.com. You can find information there. We always have our Ustream up every single day, so when the show is broadcasting live, you can watch Irv and I right there from the website. We also have our Blog Talk link there. You can go in and you can research our archives and find other good nuggets that we've left on other previous shows. And we also have a link to our Google account, which is where we post all of our archived videos. So we got lots of information in there. I mean, good stuff for small business people.
That's right. And you know what, we have, I just want to say, for those of you guys who listen to our show every day or tune in to us on Ustream or come in the chat room, our good friend 714 is in the chat room, and, she's just talking about, how informative the show is. And I want you guys to know that we really do appreciate it, even though some of you are a little bit shy about calling in and kind of jumping in the conversation, but we really appreciate all that you do to build your businesses and support our show.
And I, too, want to second that motion. It is much appreciated. And Irv and I love doing this. I mean, we've been able to gather a wealth of information over the years. And don't ask us how we got it. I mean, we got the bumps and bruises to prove it. And we like to share this information with you. If there's anything that we can do to empower what you do, that's what we do right here on this show. We're going to revisit most of these other points on another day. We like to thank you guys for tuning in. Today's show has been made possible by Sales Nexus. Sales Nexus is a CRM system that is guaranteed guaranteed to help improve your sales performance. If you don't believe me, go to salesnexus.com, try the software out for free, and then hit me back and let me know what you think. You've been listening to the Small Business Today Show with Cruz and Hughes. I'm John Cruz.
I'm Irv Hughes.
And this is the place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. Until tomorrow, be smart, be successful, and above all else,
be in action.
And Irv and I will see you tomorrow.